All right, y'all. It is time to shine. It is time to shine. They trying to glitch the intro song, but we still pressing forward. Shout out to all of those who are tuning in or listening with us on the podcast. I'm your host, Julian Smartrimple, King Jewelz, here for another very special edition of the Run the Jewelz Facebook Live show and podcast series. Hopefully everyone enjoyed their Father's Day weekend and Juneteenth celebratory weekend. It's an official federal holiday now. I know a lot of people have been putting in tireless work to make that reality, to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. And so hopefully you supported a Black business or Black businesses throughout this weekend. And also shout out to all the fathers, the mentors, the coaches, the father figures, the positive male role models that are showing the kings how to truly be kings, and those that are even taking care of their children, those that are making sure that they're growing their young men into kings. We appreciate you and applaud your services, kings. Shout out to all the fathers that are out there. We are on episode 159, you all. Summer is officially here. We are about to be going into tons of entrepreneurial episodes, and so you will not want to miss any of our summer episodes for season 3 of the RTJ show. Episode 159 is how to scale an Airbnb business. This is something that you will want to know if you are in the real estate industry or if you want to break into real estate in any way, shape, or form. I'm sure people are having rooms open in their homes, houses that you may not be using, vacation homes, you name it, timeshares even. We want to make sure that we are taking advantage of all forms of aspects of making money in real estate. And so tonight's episode is going to be with a very special guest. I met this dynamic queen literally by watching YouTube, and also just literally seeing what her social media was via her YouTube page. She is a dynamic entrepreneur. She's even definitely on the fast track to be one of the standout Atlanta influencers of real estate. And so you are going to be in for a treat. You're going to find out a lot of her story, how she broke into the real estate industry, and even how she's doing it still in her 20s, you all. There's no excuses why you cannot start a business, whether you are in your 20s, 30s, or up. There's no reason. And so hopefully any millennials, Gen Zers that are out there will be inspired today to get off of the sidelines and to get into the game. But I'm about to get ready to bring on my very special guest, Miss Precious Price, so that you can meet her. And so shout out to Precious Price, who's coming on for episode 159, how to scale an Airbnb business. And so Precious, how you doing this evening?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good and doing good. Thank you so much for coming on to the RTJ show to drop the jewels with us this week.
Oh, of course. Look, I'm ready for it. If y'all ready for the gym, I'm ready for it too.
Absolutely. And so usually what we do on the RTJ show, we want the guests to introduce yourself to our audience that will be tuning in or watching or listening to the replay or podcast episode. Mm-hmm. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Tell us where your hometown is, and also a little bit about your background and why you got into the Airbnb business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much for bringing me on. So my name is Precious Price. I am an entrepreneur and digital marketing consultant here in Atlanta, Georgia. I suppose you could say that I am a serial entrepreneur. But I also, prior to getting into the real estate industry, and even still now, I still do a ton of work within the marketing and branding space with my own personal clients, as well as within consulting as well. So right now, and what we are talking about today is really just my experience within real estate. So I am currently located within Atlanta, Georgia, and I do have 3 Airbnb properties in the South Atlanta area. So I have 3 of those, and I have had those and been in the Airbnb game since about, I would say 2018. 2018 is when I started Airbnb in my apartment, and then I got my first house to Airbnb in 2019. And just recently, this past March, I was able to complete a tiny house build in the backyard of one of the investment properties as well. And we are now Airbnb-ing that out too. So it's been really, really good. And I also just do business coaching regarding Airbnb and stepping into real estate in addition to that. So I'm originally from the south side of Chicago. So grew up there for the most part. And then before I started high school, moved over to Maryville, Indiana, which is like a small town outside of Gary, Indiana. And that is pretty much where I hail from. I moved here to Atlanta, Georgia about 3 years ago. So right when I moved, I pretty much kind of hopped into the Airbnb game, but it didn't become one of, like, I would say, my main avenues or vehicles for, I guess, earnings and income until probably last year. Last year is when I stepped full-time into it, for the most part, a full-time renting my home during the pandemic. And even in that time, I was able to do $50,000 in that 1 year from just Airbnb one place for the most part. So that was a really, really good year for me. And then at that point, it kind of sparked my idea to just begin expanding within this, because even though I had already been within branding and I was already doing a ton of marketing work, I had clients there, the money was coming for me a lot faster with Airbnb. And then I still found that I was still able to tap into my zone of genius, which is marketing and branding and just business coaching, through actually teaching other people how to start up their Airbnb business as well. So it's been a crazy, crazy journey up until this point. I would say the last probably 3 years since I moved to Atlanta. But that crazy journey has honestly led me into the perfect harmony of where I am right now, which is just that intersection of kind of real estate and business coaching.
I love it. I love it. Definitely shout out to the ATL, where a lot of entrepreneurs, young professionals are shining and doing their thing here, like Precious, especially myself included, and others that are taking care of the next legacy building. And so shout out to Chi-Town too. Southside gets a bad rap, but I know most of my close cousins and friends are from the Chi, so we always support those that do come from the Midwest. I'm from Oakland, California, but I got love for the Chi. It's all love. But for those that are just tuning in with us, you are here with my very special guest, Miss Precious Price, who is dropping jewels for episode 159, How to Scale an Airbnb Business. Whether you are wanting to get into the Airbnb business game or the real estate game, period, you will want to tune in and listen to this podcast episode this evening. And so I forgot to even mention how I came across Precious's video on YouTube. And so be careful of when you are having sleepless nights, when literally God either has you up or you may be on a caffeine high or something along those lines. But I was literally searching on YouTube for entrepreneurs, and Precious's video came up where she was talking about her tiny home build that she is going to definitely discuss with us this evening. And I was like, this young lady, this young queen is here in the ATL. Literally just came across the video by having the recommended videos. And I was like, I got to have her on the RTJ show to talk about her experience. And so, like, how did you get into real estate, Precious? Is it something that you were taught? Did you research, like a lot of people follow YouTube University or IG influencers? Like, how did you want to get into real estate for yourself?
So if we're talking more where that desire originated from, I would say my mother. That that desire originated from my mother. So my mother is amazing, number one, absolutely amazing. But she would not let me forget the fact, like at growing up, she would never let me forget the fact that she purchased her first house before she was 21. So,
Wow.
so for the most part, she had been telling me that. I knew that growing up, and she had always kind of, I guess, instilled that importance of just real estate within us in the first place. So because of that, when I moved down to Atlanta, I told you that I did have an apartment. So when I moved to Atlanta, before I even moved, she actually said, she's like, you know, don't go down there paying that high rent. And I went down there paying that high rent.
Right.
And I saw why she said that. And then I said, you know what? And she was still in my ear saying, like, you need to actually go ahead and like try to buy a house. Like, you're paying all of that money for that small apartment. You're not building anything. Like, it was crazy. So nonetheless, not very long after I had moved to Atlanta, I moved to Atlanta in July of 2018. Not very long after moving to Atlanta, and then even furthermore, starting to Airbnb my own apartment after them saying that I couldn't, and you know, the restrictions with that of Airbnb in an apartment. But nonetheless, after that, I said, you know what, I need to really like buckle down and start trying to buy a house. So I started that process early 2019, as I was still Airbnb my own apartment out. And when I started that process, it was really, like I said, the desire originated just from my own mother. But then I would say what further sparked that desire was the fact that I had started to Airbnb my apartment, and I had like, I was earning really good money. I was able to pay my rent. I was able to start making a couple extra dollars on the side for myself. And I was sleeping on my friends' couches. So I didn't have, like, at that point, I'm like, okay, this is how you live. So when I did that, I then said, you know what? Okay, that kind of lit that fire within me of like, okay, rather than an apartment, let me get a house. Because I'm making this much with an apartment, I know for a fact a house is going to do even crazier numbers. So I pretty much just started that process. And I would say, yes, YouTube University a bit, but it more for me, like, I like going to the source. I like going to the credible sources. I like going to people who know what they're talking about, because there have been many instances where I just don't listen to somebody and we both don't, you know, those instances where you go asking somebody for advice and it's like they don't know what they're talking about either, but it makes you feel better because I'm talking with you. No. What I did when I was going through the process of actually looking to get started within real estate, because even furthermore, I didn't see this, like I didn't see myself scaling Airbnb even to where I have it today. And I really feel like I haven't even scaled for real just yet with what I have planned. But I didn't see myself really like diving into this like that, because for the most part, I had thought about getting into real estate and maybe getting like my realtor's license and all of that. But I'm just like, I didn't want to sell houses. I knew I didn't want to sell houses, and I didn't, like, there was no point. So this was kind of that easier segue or a gateway into actually being in real estate. And now, like I say all the time to my friends, just people around me, the fact that I'm becoming one of those contacts within real estate, specifically regarding Airbnb, is crazy. Because like I said, I don't have a license. And I don't know, it's wild, because I always said that I did not want to sell houses, be in real estate or anything like that. And though I'm not selling houses, I'm still here. So the resources that I really looked at when getting started and trying to figure out, okay, how do I begin to do this research? Number one, the National Urban League. The National Urban League during that time, and I believe they still do, but they hold, what is it called? Like first-time home buyers workshops. They hold different webinars on just like what's going on within your city in regards to real estate. So I started attending those types of events. I started signing up for those workshops because I also knew that I wanted to be a part of a first-time home buyers program. That was a desire of mine, but through actually learning more about it from credible resources rather than just everybody saying, do a first-time home buyers program.
Right.
Exactly. Learning about it, I was able to actually learn that there are a lot of requirements for those first-time home buyers programs, and specifically, like, number one, income requirements of you can't go over a certain amount, and then number two, just you having to be within that property, sometimes depending on the type of loan that you're getting, the program you're a part of, you have to be within that property for a certain amount of time. And for those requirements, I didn't want to do it. But I'm glad that I learned about it and I was able to really like educate myself on all that information for me so that I didn't go in blindsided, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so, no, that's major. That's major. Keep going.
Yeah, no, so it was the National Urban League, definitely. And then from there, I would say I had attended, I do recall attending, like, for you, you don't know me, I know, but I am all about networking and all of that. So when I moved to Atlanta, I actually did not know anyone. So I was very big on those apps like Eventbrite, Meetup, GroupMe, where they're just dropping information on, all of the events going on in the city, because again, I knew no one. So I knew that I needed to get out and actually meet people. So through those apps as well, like Eventbrite, Meetup, I was able to find other, again, just real estate meetups. I didn't want to be in real estate. I knew I just wanted to do Airbnb. But for me, I knew a big part of that and a big part of succeeding with it was being around people who are already in it. So that is why I then looked at those resources as well. So I would say those are the main pieces that kind of drove my desire to get into it, and then even furthermore helped me to actually get started.
Shout out to the National Urban League and also the National Urban League of Greater Atlanta and the Young Professional chapter of Urban League here in Atlanta. I'm a part of YP. I have been for the last 3 years, maybe. I didn't pay my dues recently for this year because I plan on moving shortly, but definitely the Urban League of Greater Atlanta, just like Precious said, is an awesome resource for those who are looking to get in entrepreneurship classes, first-time home buyer classes, anything that deals with business and entrepreneurship, and even just assistance. They definitely focus on home equity and also home lines of credit for those people who are interested in finding out how to even have your home be an asset. So Precious is right on the money in talking about local resources that you can tap into. And even NACA and Invest Atlanta are also other two great resources for first-time home buyers. But I forgot to mention, if anyone has any questions for my very special guest, Precious, you can definitely list them in the comment section. We'll get to them throughout tonight's evening. If you are a fellow Jewel that's been rocking with us, you already know we want to have an interactive show, not just with myself asking the Queen Precious all the questions that I have for her, but if anyone else has any questions, feel free to list them in the comments. I know we had one pop up from Kenobi Will. Said, please may you explain what Airbnb is for those that may not know. Precious, what is the entity known as Airbnb?
Yeah, Airbnb is simply just a short-term rental platform. So Airbnb is the platform that allows you to pretty much list a space that you have, whether that's an apartment, whether that's a house, a tiny house, even I've seen campers and everything on there, but it's just one platform that allows you to rent that space. Of course, they take a processing or a service fee, which is about 3%. But other than that, you are able to freely list your space on there and then get guests, and all of that is handled through that platform. So Airbnb is just one of those platforms. And really, I'm glad you asked this question, because typically when I talk about all of this, many people say it's like, okay, scaling an Airbnb business. To me, and really how I explain it, it is a short-term rental business. Because Airbnb is just one marketing platform, one platform that I use to get clients. So you can use other platforms as well, but Airbnb is really just that main kind of granddaddy platform.
That's good. That's good stuff right there. Shout out to Kenobi Will or Kenobi One tuning in from Japan. We appreciate all the interest from folks even outside of the U.S. wanting to know about Airbnb. Is Airbnb, Precious, even outside of the U.S. and like Asia, Africa, everywhere? Just so any of the international folks tuning in, if you don't know about Airbnb, definitely you need to research that ASAP. And even what I wanted to know, Precious, because we don't want folks to come in at the ground level getting your jewels, because we know you have a brand and a service that they can get into your community. But talk about the importance of when you find traction with one Airbnb property, like how you are already doing very successful and very well here in Atlanta. Like, why should you choose to scale if you may not have your team operative yet? Like, talk about like the process of when should you know that I can start scaling my Airbnb business, because I'm basically being able to eat off of the property that I'm managing right now, whether it's at my house or managing someone else's property. Like, when's the best time to know when to scale?
Okay, I got you. One second. Let me close this because the sun is really coming.
It's all good. It's that ATL sun out here.
Okay. So when to know when to actually scale your Airbnb business. So number one, I will say when you already touched on it a little bit, but when you have those processes in place, I say that is when you are ready to scale, because you don't want to get to a point to where you're acquiring too many units and you don't have the capacity, the bandwidth to handle it. A lot of people get into this and they're just doing it by themselves. You might have some cleaning people, but I know many guests who's starting out, and even when I started out, I was cleaning my units. And if I was to, if that in that instance that I scaled too quickly, I would be in over my head. Like I have a team, and really I only have 3 properties at this point. I only have 3 units listed on Airbnb for right now. But even now I am like, whoa. So when people say it's like, okay, like I want to get like 20 properties by the end of the year, yes, you absolutely can do it, but you need to make sure that you are well equipped and well prepared. A lot of people think that it's just like, okay, I can go on YouTube and I'm gonna get this free information. It's like, I'm gonna just list it, I'm gonna get paid. No, that is really the whole premise of what I talk about specifically on the Airbnb Money platform as well. I talk about the fact that you need to run this like a business. This is not a side hustle. This is not something that is like, hey, we about to get in, make some quick cash and we're gonna pull out. No, this is something that you can actually build real wealth with if you do it correctly. And
say that one more time, Precious, for the ones in the back that be trying to run without the ball.
No, this is something you can really build real wealth with if you do it correctly. But please understand that free information is only going to take you so far. Now, there's a lot of free information out here, right? And I'm not saying that you wouldn't be able to piece it together. You can absolutely piece anything together with the free information that you find on YouTube, on the internet, wherever. But think about the time that you are now expending in order to piece together that free information. You're trying to piecemeal together a business strategy when there are already people out here who have done it, who have made the mistakes, who have learned the lessons, and then they packaged it into something really nice for you to take and more quickly succeed within your business. So I say number one, just to, again, directly answer your question, have your business processes in place. And I say have a mentor. Have a mentor. And I say that, and I'll be very transparent in the fact that I did not. And you already know as well, I'm very transparent in the many, many, many mistakes that I have made during my first 3 years. Yes, 3 years doing Airbnb. People can go on my pages. You can find me on social media. You can see it all because I don't hide it, right? Like, yes, I've made some mistakes and I've learned from them, but because I've made all of those mistakes and I've spent all of this money, making those mistakes, I am now saving you time and money by sharing that information on the Airbnb Money platform.
That's so real right there. Just like Precious said, she's one of probably the realest, especially young entrepreneurs that are in their 20s and going into their 30s, that keeps it 100, 1000%. Like she is not someone that is going to be acting like all the successes don't come with any mistakes or any failures along the way or any lessons. We won't even call them failures, just lessons. Mm-hmm. Very transparent. And that's one of the main things that I saw. I watched like 2 of her YouTube videos back to back on the tiny home build, from the process all the way to the completion. And she talks about the ups and the downs and also the lessons that have been learned. And so that's a key jewel that Precious is giving you. Don't just follow folks that just show their successes. Talk to and follow the people that are real and transparent about the up and the downs of that process. And so, Precious, I know when it comes to, we have a question. Okay, we got a couple questions for you, Precious, this evening. Shout out to all of those that are rocking with us this evening. Episode 159 has been sponsored by the Hugo Bar. We're going to show a video from them shortly. Our official sponsor of episode 159 comes from the Hugo Bar. You can click the link that's pinned in the comment section. They are a wellness and also health and wellness product business that is out of North Carolina, Winston-Salem. Shout out to the Hugo Bar, and you can visit them with the link that's tagged in the comment section. But Midnight Prayer Watch, one of our partners for RTJ, also asked, are you concerned about the market trends where health concerns decreased the usage of Airbnb rentals due to hygiene standards in 2020 last year? So what were your thoughts on that, Precious?
Not at all. No. So Airbnb had their stint, their small stint of not knowing what to do. And when the entire globe was in a frenzy, Airbnb was in a frenzy as well. So during the months of March and April, we all know that the pandemic had officially been declared right about the middle of March. Then from there, when that happened, many, nearly all Airbnb reservations were canceled for the most part. People were scared. They didn't know what was going on. So I did not have any bookings. Like, most of them were canceled for the rest of March. And then all of April was gone, and most of May. I didn't get back up, started with my Airbnb business until Memorial Day weekend of 2020. So May 2020. But when people ask whether or not we're concerned about like just COVID and COVID happening again, right now you have to understand that people have been in the house so long. We've bounced back for the most part, right? We've bounced back in a matter of the fear regarding the unknown is no longer there. So much of what went wrong within 2020 was because we didn't know anything about COVID for the most part. And because we didn't know anything, many people were scared and they were in a frenzy and canceling their reservations. Now people are more aware of what's going on. And then even furthermore, many people are now vaccinated. Now, whether or not wherever you stand with getting vaccinated, that is up to you. But many people are opting to be vaccinated, and they are now back traveling because it's been 15 or 16 months since that declaration.
That's real.
How long are we going to wait? How long are we going to wait? So no, like there is no, at this point, there is no concern. And then I see the following question as well is just, what will you do when the next health concern variant comes around? You pivot. That's what you do in business. That's it.
That's real. That's real right there. Just like you said, as a person that is needing to still keep their business open.
Well, I believe you all can still see me. I believe that was dropped, but hopefully he can pop back on pretty soon. But if there are any additional questions, I'd be more than happy to answer a few of them right now.
Hold on, y'all. StreamYard was trying to kick me out. Precious was dropping so many jewels. They tried to shut us down early this evening, y'all. Definitely give Precious some likes, some hearts. Share this content because she's giving y'all too many jewels. The internet just tried to kick me out of my own show. But definitely pivoting, which is what I was saying, Precious, before I got cut off. You are spot on with that. And Midnight Prayer Watch, just like Precious answered, had already asked, what will you do when the next health concern variant comes? She said to pivot and talk about, like, as an entrepreneur, especially from you seeing it going into your 30s, like, talk about the businesses that did not pivot and what were some of the pitfalls that you saw when it came to Airbnb businesses or even real estate businesses or real estate properties that you know this is your industry that you may have seen some people throw in the towel that did not know how to pivot correctly. Like, talk about the art form that we know as pivoting as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so pivoting is pretty much just, for the most part, you need to understand that you need to 100% know what is going on within your industry, know what is going on specifically with your numbers, just all of that. Many hosts like sold their listings, sold their units. They were done. They literally got out of the Airbnb industry, the short-term rental industry last year due to COVID. And again, this is because they did not know how to pivot, right? And then even furthermore, when you are just looking at it as just an Airbnb business, of course, when Airbnb begins canceling all of their reservations, you're met with a frenzy because you were basing your entire business model on just Airbnb, which again, most people do. That's completely fine. However, understanding how do you pivot during all of that, right? Like pivoting during all of that, for instance, what I started to do last year when we started back up within May. Initially, we were targeting more of like your families, more of like your groups who are coming in town, they're traveling with, their friends, and they're wanting to get a house and have a large space to stay in. After that, obviously, we could not do those large groups. However, we were still able to begin hosting people who are like, hey, we have 12 people. We're just trying to have a small baby shower, because events, life continues to go on. That's the piece that I want to understand. This is why we pivot in business, because life keeps moving. Problems are keep going to happen. Solutions need to continue to be created. So because of that, I was able to pivot my business was a matter of, rather than just doing just the, nightly stays or allowing people to stay for weeks on end, days on end. It's like, hey, you want to rent out the house just so that you can have a photo shoot because not a lot of other places are open for a photo shoot right now. That is what you're looking at. You really just have to look at the market and look at these market trends. And then even furthermore, just with those hosts who did not pivot, right? I mean, honestly, I cannot speak for them. I will say that, like I've already stated, I do know that there are many hosts who threw in the towel following 2020 just because there was so much uncertainty around COVID. However, there are so many ways to pivot within this industry, so many ways to supplement the income that you're earning Airbnb, not just with renting the home, but having upsells when you're in there, having like a movie night kit when they come by, allowing them to rent a car, one of your cars on Turo. Like there's so many ways to supplement this that it's really just a matter of if you really understand your business model correctly, which is what I believe, you should be able to succeed. And then even furthermore, when you're met with something, it's a matter of what is the solution, not, okay, well, what am I going to do? Like, when this happens again, or like, how are we going to bounce back from this? Figure it out. It's been, I don't know what else to say. And that's me coming from me. I went to business school. So that is why I give it so straight. And that is why I look at things the way that I do. Because mistakes are going to happen in business. Failures are going to happen. If I'm not failing, I'm not learning. You can call it failure, lesson, whatever you want to call it. When things go wrong, you need to understand that they will go wrong. Absolutely. When you expect it, it makes it so much easier. It makes it so much easier. Expect it. Don't think that it's going to go perfect because it's going to hurt your feelings when it doesn't. But it's not going to go perfectly. You are going to make some mistakes. You're probably going to lose some money a little bit. I'm not even specifically talking about Airbnb because really there's no way to lose money with Airbnb for the most part. But you are going to lose money when you are betting on yourself when you're getting into any business. Any business. So pivot. Figure it out.
That's so true. That's so true. And you get to really see the people that were not equipped for when the rain comes, when the storms come, that throw in the towel, especially like none of us could have expected the pandemic that happened last year. But to your point, like a lot of entrepreneurs weren't having their process or their system equipped to accommodate that, whether they had the money that was put aside, as you said, when you weren't getting bookings, whether you had a plan B to stay afloat, to keep your property still maintained. Like those are all things as a business owner you have to be thinking about because times aren't always going to be sweet, just like you said. And so shout out to you. Go ahead.
And what's really hard, or what's like the piece that I noticed as well, just having the background that I do, is that there are so many people who have not businesses, but LLCs. You have an LLC, but you don't have a business because you did not set it up correctly. Like And that, again, that is why I focus so much on actually setting up that business foundation with the people that I work with, because it's like, whether or not you're getting started in Airbnb or what have you, you should know how to properly set the foundation up for your business. You should know how to get your LLC, get your EIN, get your DUNS number, start building your business credit. If you don't have those 4 things, you do not have a business.
Right.
LLC.
And these are things
have that Secretary of State paper, the one that they screenshot, like, oh, I'm so proud, I got a business. Congratulations. Now is the time to now build the legacy of it, right? Like, how are you can't pass that sheet of paper down. It's going to dissolve in a couple years. So what are you now doing? So that is why I say it's not just the LLC. It's not just a matter of getting into these things. And it's like, how can I make the quickest money? No, look at your strengths. Some of you should not be in Airbnb at all because you don't know hospitality. So don't just try to hop on the next wave just because everybody else is doing it. Look for things that are actually sustainable for you, and you will succeed.
That's real. I was just going to chime in. These are things that you even talk about on your brand and even on your channel that a lot of people want to go into business, but they don't even know the first steps to actually own their business or even own their brand to make sure that they are profitable and not just running a hobby or even a side hustle. And so, like, you're dropping tons of jewels that she even reiterates on her channel. So you guys definitely need to go and follow her IG and her YouTube, which we're going to be shouting out throughout this whole segment. But I know we wanted to give our VIP sponsor just due by being able to let people see what our VIP sponsor, the Hugo Bar, does. And so I'm going to bring them on really quick so that we can give them shine for tonight's very special episode 159 being sponsored by the Hugo Bar. And so take a look and see what the Hugo Bar does. So again, really quick shout out again to the Hugo Bar based out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. They just actually highlighted a wellness event by the Coffee Loft ATL on June 11th, and he ships nationwide. And so I'm putting in the comment section again on how you can get in touch and to find out about their juices. They do of course, sea moss, elderberry syrup. I even purchased myself, and we're looking to partner with them for Smart Jewels Enterprises throughout this summer to build up the immune system for the fall. And so if you have any questions, as we've already been doing for my very special guests, you can definitely list them in the comment section and we'll get to them shortly. But stay with that point right there, Precious, that you were mentioning when it comes to your guest, before we pivot into the tiny home process. Like, talk about, like, when people think about hotels, they think about the room service, and they think about, of course, having their bed made up each and every day that they may leave the room, or unless they have the do not disturb sign on. Like, talk about the process of keeping your properties not just clean, but even welcoming to the guests. Because I know you do a lot of planning behind the designs of your units. that you also operate. So like talk about the process for providing that customer experience that they feel welcome when they walk into your units.
Absolutely. So for all of my units, for the most part, because I am in branding, I'm a marketing person and all of that, all of my units are branded. And for the most part, people know that when they enter into any of my units, it's going to give a very cozy, homey type of feel. You have to understand that the differentiating factor with short-term rentals is the fact that this is fully furnished. That leaves people who are like, okay, I'm looking for something, you know, you have to provide a good experience in terms of how it is furnished. And then even further, more thoughtful touches, because that is the premium that people are paying for. If they just wanted to have something and it's like move in somewhere for a couple of weeks, they do that. And then, of course, they would have to find their own mattress, their own couch, all of these extra items. So really the key differentiating factor within Airbnb are those personal touches that you're providing. So for me, what I do within my units, like I said, we do more of like that cozy, that homey feel. So number one, it is just a matter of you need to understand like your guests. For me, communication is huge within this business because it is honestly, it is a determining factor sometimes between like a 5-star review and a, you know, not so desirable review that they're going to leave you. So I literally have 8 points of communication that I have between the time that my guest sends an inquiry or says that, hey, I want to book, to the time that they actually leave a review. There's 8 different like messages or touch points that I have with them planned just so that I can know what's going on. Hey, what's bringing you to the city? I'm excited about check-in. Happy check-in day. Like these are really some of the more basic pieces, especially within hosting and being a short-term rental host, that many guests forget. And then even furthermore than that, you just have to have like small, for me, like I love to, you don't want to have expectations low, right? Like you just manage guest expectations, but you want to over deliver when they arrive. So that over delivery could then be in, you know, for me, I have a photo wall within one of my units, but for the most part, you're not going to know I have it until you get in there and you can take a photo in front of it with your friends, and it really works well for groups. But just little pieces like that I find really help, especially when you are like in this and you're looking to differentiate yourself. Because right now, I'm sure that you know and you have seen everybody talking about Airbnb now.
Right.
Everybody is talking about Airbnb and how it's easy to get in, and you don't need to own a property, and this, and you don't even need no money. You don't even need a good credit score. That's what everybody's telling you.
It's crazy out here. It's crazy, especially now that the economy. Well, Atlanta never shut down, so we in the perfect market, especially for those who are traveling. But the other states that are opening back up, yeah, everyone's just been talking about it's so easy to get into Airbnb, but Precious is someone of the rare jewels in the real estate industry that talks about the process and also talks about like how you need to get yourself together to be able to be sustainable in this business. And that's the piece that I wanted to pivot into, because you talked about one of the key things that is very much so ran here in Atlanta, where people do, let's say, events at Airbnbs. They may do photo ops, they may do cooking demos, they may hopefully not do parties to mess up people's property like we've been hearing about in Texas, and even you've talked about stories you've had, but they do events in the Airbnb space. So talk about like what is your perspective on now that people are starting to travel more, and also here in Atlanta, of course, people are still traveling here. Like, where do you see the event space going when it comes to Airbnbs?
I think it's going to continue with Airbnb. I mean, the thing with that, though, with events, I feel like the events are going to do well for those who do have short-term rental properties. But there's now competition in regards to, okay, listing and events. Like PeerSpace is one of those websites where you are able to list your space, and this is for, oh, you can rent it out for a few hours rather than Airbnb just allowing you to rent it out per night.
Wow.
So it's now it's now like they've created some competition. However, I do think that actually having these events within these Airbnbs in smaller places, smaller spaces, it's going up. Number one, because now you're seeing a lot more people, rather than having huge birthday parties, they might have a small birthday dinner. Rather than having large baby showers and gender reveals, they're just getting together with their close friends and family and then having a Zoom link where other people can join. So it's making it a lot easier. And then even furthermore, renting a house for a night is far cheaper than we're trying to rent a whole event space. Yes. So I really feel like that whole piece or that aspect of the Airbnb industry is definitely going to pick up, or the short-term rental industry is going to pick up, specifically within the event space. But even furthermore, aside from that, we're still back. Like we are back. You ask any host, for the most part, we are back to people traveling on the weekends, doing one night stays. Like we're back at it. So it's not even a matter of people are just going to be looking for those events. I still have people who are trying to come in for a night or two on the weekend, people who are trying to come in for a week or 2 weeks on end. It's really up to you. And I think the beauty that I like within this industry, and specifically with Airbnb and the platform, is that I can really determine that. Like I run that. Like if I want somebody, I want to just rent my house out to those who are just trying to stay at least a week, I can do that. It doesn't have to just be a per night type of thing.
Yeah, and that's something huge that you're speaking about, especially when it comes to safety, which I wanted us to pivot into, because some Airbnb hosts, like I've traveled to Puerto Rico, I've gone all throughout the US to stay in Airbnbs because I just love the concept when it wasn't as popular as it is right now. But a lot of the hosts would actually live in the next door units, or potentially in the units that I was not living but staying in temporarily. And so, like, do you agree with more hosts being able to accommodate, let's say, longer stays with units that they actually have to live in another part of the house, or even what you have as the tiny home process that you documented? Or are you against, like, when people are trying to scale that they don't live in the units? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I say get into this game the easiest way that you can. If you have a space right now and you're saying, I live in a 3-bedroom house, but I only really be using 1 bedroom, I don't never go in those other bedrooms.
Right.
Then you should probably put put those rooms on Airbnb. So really, whether you are renting an entire space, meaning an entire house, an entire apartment, or you are just renting a room within your house. I have a friend who was out in Houston. He had a 1-bedroom apartment. He was before COVID, he was renting out his living room. It was an air mattress in his living room. And it was doing amazing. It was paying his rent. So it's really just like when you're looking at whether or not you're renting your entire space or a shared space, it's really just the business model, right? But for me, I tell people, however, it is the easiest for you to get started within this, because once you start making money, you rinse and repeat. You use that money to make more money. You use that money to then expand and actually get you a unit. Like that is what I did. If you go on the Airbnb Money Instagram, you go through the stories, you go through the highlights, all of that. I talk about how I started out renting my own apartment because that was the easiest for me. I started out renting my own apartment, my 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. Of course, that requires sacrifices, right? Like delayed gratification. Did I like sleeping on my friends' couches every weekend? No. But that then allowed me to save up for the down payment for my first investment property. So it's really just a matter of whatever the easiest way for you to get in. If that's a matter of you having an extra space that you already have and you're just saying, hey, I want to rent a shared space, do that. If that's you saying, you know what, I'm just going to go get an apartment in my name and re-rent it on Airbnb, do that as well. If you are in the market for purchasing a house and you're saying, you know what, I want to buy a house right now, but I don't want to live in a house right now, Airbnb it.
Yeah, and that's real, especially when it comes to I've seen people do the couches, just like you said, the pullouts. I've seen even you talk about, and I've heard other friends that operate as Airbnb hosts rent out their garage. They'll put a bed in the garage or a twin bed out there and just let people crash temporarily, or even just one night or a couple nights. And so that deals with the safety though. Like, what are your thoughts on, like, should you
you mean like having people inside your home?
Yeah, like what are your thoughts, especially being a queen and being a woman? Like, how have you had any weirdos that stayed with you when you were actually in the units? Like, what are
I don't share the units. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I don't share the units for that specifically. Like, no, like all units that I have, I completely rent out. Number one, just because of I am a woman, I do need to be a little more mindful about my safety. But then also just a matter of I like to live alone.
Right.
I like my own space.
Yeah. I love it. And even go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so then, I mean, with speaking to the safety for somebody who does have extra space and they do want to do that, it is completely all right for you to have interior cameras in your Airbnb if they are in common spaces, like the living room, like the dining room. You can do that. So if you are worried about your safety, like I have exterior cameras on all of mine because I'm not sharing the space. I really don't care what they're doing on the inside right now. So I don't have interior cameras. But cameras are a really good way for you to kind of get an idea of, okay, who's coming in and out, ring doorbells. Like there's workarounds for that safety if that is a concern of yours. But I would say for the most part, especially right now with COVID and everything, there are certainly still people who are renting shared spaces, but that number has decreased a bit because of people worrying about cleanliness, people worrying about sanitation, whether or not it's being disinfected properly, those types of things.
Yeah, and that goes to the pivoting point of the main topic that I definitely wanted you to share with the tiny home process. You documented it from start to finish. I haven't seen someone document the tiny home process here in Atlanta as well as you did, especially with talking about some of the pitfalls with the people who are renovating the unit for you, and also even from the plumbing, you went in and really touched on the basics of it. So talk about like how can someone get started on running a tiny home on their property if they have land that's in the back of their home, or even if they stay on a plot of land. Here in Atlanta, we know it's a lot of country outside of Atlanta. Like talk about how did you come up with that idea, and why should people maximize the full potential of the property that they own?
So number one, I came up with it just because of the fact that, I mean, and you may know this if you've been thinking about real estate, many people, again, because most people just listen to what they're told on the internet. I'm sure you've heard of this thing of get an FHA loan, 3% down, get a duplex, house hack. That's what everybody's saying. Everybody says that. So in my process of, okay, let me look for a duplex, I realized that here in the Atlanta area, there are actually not a lot of duplexes in the city. You can find some on the outskirts in the outer cities, but there's not really a ton within the perimeter. And for me, I knew I wanted to be in the perimeter, right? So because of that, I said, you know what? I'm done continuing trying to find this duplex. And right now I'm not ready to build a duplex. I'm sure I could, but I'm not ready to build a duplex. However, I then said, you know what? I still want to do this multi-unit type of property thing. Yeah. So again, I had my first investment property, and it's like, I have this really, really huge backyard. And I knew when I purchased the property that I wanted to, like, I really can't tell you. I honestly cannot tell you how I knew, but this was like a seed that was planted, like literally like when I was house searching. Wow. And it was just like a matter of, I said, I knew I wanted a big yard, a big backyard. And I said, I'm going to put a house back there. Where that idea came from, I don't know. I don't know if I was watching HGTV or what, but when I was looking for my house, I specifically remember telling the realtor, I need big backyards. I didn't know what I wanted to put back there. Initially, my mom was trying to get me to put a pool, an in-ground pool.
Mom wanted to swim back there with her.
She's trying to get a vacation spot. But yeah, so I didn't know what I was gonna do. So pretty much like just getting started, it was just a matter of I was looking for duplexes and I couldn't find any duplexes. So I'm like, I need something that I could build on. Like I can build more on, because I knew that once I got my land, for the most part, I'm able to do whatever I want with it, for the most part. So I would say if you're interested in getting started with that on your own, number one, you need to be looking at your local like zoning and just regulation laws. That is the very first thing before you start looking at sheds, before you start like, ooh, this one's cute. Look at whether or not it is even possible for you to do that in the area that you are in. Very first and foremost. Then from there, I need you to determine a budget. What is your budget? How much are you willing to spend? For me, go watch the video again. I documented the entire process, start to finish. It's 3 full episodes, really good production. We spent a lot of money on that. Go watch it, share it out. But I spent with the one that I have, all in was about $35,000. Now, to a lot of people, right, $35,000, like, oh my God, $35,000. You gotta understand, I just listed the Airbnb. I just listed the tiny house specifically in March. Since March, it's about to hit its first 10,000 in earnings.
Wow! Congratulations! Yeah.
Thank you. So it's just like that. It's 35,000, but if I keep it up within the next 12 to 18 months, I would have made my investment back and then some.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's real. Like you said, scared money doesn't make any real money when it comes to that. And just like she said, the process was not easy to get that tiny home built. And she literally had it documented to the T. And that's a major industry that I know I'm interested in. I told Precious I'm definitely interested in the tiny home communities and the container home communities. Not here in the US, just like she said, there's a lot of building laws against it, but in Asia, it's an open market, especially for the container homes and the container communities out there. So shout out to those that are like Precious, myself and others that want to live different and not just have a traditional home, but to also think outside the box for people that want to be minimalist or minimize their lifestyle. And so I know we're at the time for your interview, Precious, but I wanted to allow you to let people know where they can support you before we allow you to give your final jewel for wisdom for today's episode.
Yes, absolutely. So you can follow me, find me everywhere at Precious C. Price. My website is www.preciouscprice.com. And you can find me on all social media platforms at Precious C. Price on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm everywhere for the most part. But I would say that main hub of communication is my website. You will be able to find information on the work that I do, branding, the speaking engagements that I do as well. I'm continuing to speak in regards to business, branding, motivation, as well as real estate. And you can find the Airbnb Money Instagram and information there as well.
Absolutely. And she's active, you all. She's all on social, and that's how I came across her. Shout out to YouTube again and IG. She responds directly to her messages. I repeat, directly. She's not the type of person that's on social that just be leaving people in the deep. Well, you may leave some weirdos or some.
I do sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. It be a lot.
Right, some stalkers or some weirdos that be hitting up the queens on IG. I know how that can be, but she's someone that is responsive. Let's just say that she's not gonna address any questions if you hit her website up, and also follow her on social. And so, Precious, we've talked about a lot today, Queen. We've talked about you starting your real estate industry. Not real estate empire, not industry. You work in the real estate industry, but your real estate empire. We talked about Mama Dukes inspiring you from purchasing her own property at the age of 21. We talked about your process and literally sustaining your units and also your business throughout the pandemic last year. What would be a final jewel of wisdom that you want to leave with someone that is already in the real estate industry or may have one unit for Airbnb or even a few, but they're looking to scale? Like what piece of advice or wisdom would you want to leave with that person that is looking to scale and is not just starting?
I would say, like, get in this and really learn the game. Sometimes we get in it and you're working in the business because you're doing the day-to-day things and you are not working on your business, right? You're not working on the strategy that you're using to scale. So number one, I would say, continue to educate yourself on Airbnb. Even if you have been hosting and you got one property and you've had it for 12 months, there are things that you do not know. I guarantee you, there are things that you do not know. So you need to go out there, whether it's YouTube University, whether it's getting a mentor who can help you to scale, continue to help you to learn more within this game to really make your business official. You need to find that. And initially to that, like a lot of people, again, speaking to my initial point of, the free information is only going to take you so far. Really, with a lot of it, you need to understand, a lot of the times we think about like, okay, well, the cost of making a certain investment, the cost of making that move, right? But rather than thinking about the cost to make that move, I want you to think about the cost of staying in the same place. 12 months from now, if you were in the same place, how would that make you feel? I'm sure that cost is a lot greater than the cost of whatever you would be investing into your business and into your own personal and professional development.
She's dropping too many jewels for y'all, fellow jewels who are watching with us. She said she put in 30,000 for the tiny home. She already made back 10 stacks plus. And so a lot of folks that are watching and listening, you have to count the cost, because the return on your investment is greater than the input if you know what you're doing and have the blueprint, just like Precious has for the Airbnb industry. And so, Precious, it's been a pleasure serving with you, Queen. I know you're a bright, shining star, not just here in Atlanta, but I know you have units even outside of the A. And so shout out to you diving headfirst and putting your money and also, of course, resources where your passion and also your purpose is. I want to say a quick prayer over you real quick to let you be blessed on what all you're doing, just to provide a blueprint for others to follow, and then even just supporting younger entrepreneurs, because I know a lot of people think that folks are not getting to it legit out here, not just on IG or on social, flossing and faking out here, but you are someone that documents the process, you're transparent, and you are real. And so that's one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on the show to run the jewels this evening. But I definitely want to say a quick prayer of you and let you enjoy the rest of your week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Precious, we thank you, Father, for allowing her to come on the show this evening. We thank you, Father, for just allowing her to be used to help and also to uplift others. We thank you even for the gifts and the talents that you have placed inside of her that are being used, and even those that are being refined right now. We thank you for her boldness and courageousness to build a legacy even in her 20s, so that going into her 30s, she will be able to straight put it on autopilot to show others that you can start a business and run a successful business in your 20s. And also, we thank you for her family. We thank you for her mom, her father, her family support system, her tribe, her followers and influencers that support her and continue to encourage her along the way. And we just pray that you will open up new doors and new opportunities to build up more of her network and clientele just from her sharing on the RTJ show this evening, and from just being available to support and also to show others the way. We love you, Father. I thank you for all that you've done in her life, and pray that you will bless her. And it's in Jesus, Yeshua's name, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, Precious, it's been a pleasure serving with you. I know definitely in the ATL, it's always entrepreneurs that are doing it, but there's not a lot that are showing others the full process. And so we applaud you for showing the full process for your journey, Queen. Continue doing what you're doing. And I know we'll be in touch again. I thank you again for coming on and blessing us with your jewels this evening. And you enjoy the rest of your week. And also shout out to the summer in the ATL that just began.
Yes. Hello. All right. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend and have a great evening. We'll talk soon. Peace.
Bye.
All right, y'all. You heard from Precious. She literally ran the full playbook to let you all know why you need to get into the real estate industry, and also why you should already have been on the bandwagon of Airbnb, whether you are living somewhere or whether you are helping someone rent out their units or their properties. Airbnb is definitely something that you can benefit on from either a residual side or whether it's a full-time business that you're looking to run it as. And so there's no excuses to leave out your bedroom. You heard her say, and I even know people that have rented out their couches, their garages, tiny homes, just like she built from scratch here in Atlanta. And so there's tons of ways to go out here and get it when it comes to the real estate industry, but you have to be willing to put your money where your mouth is and to also not make excuses. This season, we're in a new season. Officially, summer is here. We're in hot ATL, here in hot Atlanta that they say here in the A, but you gotta be stopped playing with your opportunities that you are presented with. Everyone comes to Atlanta to party. but there's a few and strong unit of entrepreneurs that come here to build. And so which one are you? Are you one that is playing with your resources, playing with your destiny, playing with your purpose? Or are you building a legacy for others to see and for others to be able to follow, that is successful, that is a blueprint formula to show others how you did it and also that it can be done? And so Precious is only one of the bright shining stars, but she's definitely someone that is on the rise, you all. So you will want to follow her and definitely support her business, her services, and even her ministry, because I know she has a lot more brewing in store. And so definitely go out and support her IG and her YouTube channel. You definitely want to follow her podcast too for Airbnb Money. And so if you've been blessed by tonight's very special episode 159, we serve tirelessly each and every week for the RTJ show, but we are an international show and an international ministry. We've had guests on from Africa to Europe to Central and South America, and of course here in the US. We're looking to have some guests on from Asia to talk about post-pandemic. But if you've been blessed in any way, shape, or form by Precious's jewels that she's dropped this evening, feel free to sow a seed with us. There's 3 ways to give. You can Cash App us at $SMART, SMART, JEWELZ, or you can Venmo us at Smart Jewels Enterprises. And recently we just started up a Patreon account because we are in season 3. We've already had a ton of guests and also sponsors that have sown into the RTJ show. So shout out to all the names that we're going to put at the bottom of the screen, so you can see that we do have supporters and we do have VIP donors that actually support the show, because we cannot do this without them. And so shout out to all the names that you can see at the bottom that definitely have been so much of an asset to the RTJ show, because again, we just started up season 3 recently this year. And so for all of those that are tuning in, we are on all podcast platforms. You can definitely look at what our services are, because we do provide other services here on the RTJ show. And so definitely take a look and see what other services we do provide here at the RTJ show. I'm just a humbled messenger, just making sure that you have no excuses to say why you have not been able to be successful in 2021, despite what is happening around you. So take a look and see what other services we provide. With Smart Jewels Enterprises, we have podcast and show creation services and coaching that we do each and every quarter. We literally have helped entrepreneurs and creatives produce their own show syndication, get it on podcast format. And even for those who are running meetings, cooking demos, conferences, you name it. Services include podcast show creation, live streaming services. If you are someone that needs technical assistance behind the scenes, making all the bells and whistles pop for your show or for your broadcast, if you are into webinar hosting, or if you're just trying to customize your brand to go more digital, we have exactly what you need. We create the opportunities for you to shine. And that's something that Smart Jewels Enterprises does for all of our clients. Also, too, absolutely no one likes to go broke in the summertime. But I know everyone is throwing their money back into the economy to enjoy their travel that they missed out on last year, to enjoy being able to truly live life, whether you've been vaccinated or not. But do not go broke trying to impress others, or do not go broke trying to even impress yourself. We need to be really focusing on our finances and our financial wellness this season. And so we provide financial freedom coaching for clients that are trying to not just get out of debt, but to live financially free. which includes businesses and investments and assets over liability. Shout out to Earn Your Leisure too. They are doing some great things, those brothers over at their business and industry that they run their podcasts in. But we want to create financial freedom for generations to come. And so that only can come through you getting your finances in order, for you having financial freedom and getting out of debt to build wealth and to have more assets versus liabilities. And so if you're interested in a free discovery session, you could also click the link that's tagged in the comment section to see how we can help you get out of your financial debt situation so you can build more assets and wealth this summer. Also next week, I'm excited. We got the lineup already complete for June and July. We literally are only open for August slots right now, but we have coming up next Tuesday, What It Takes to Create, from another entrepreneur. And also this is a brethren, a student, and also a classmate of myself that we went to high school with. I've seen this brother and also another young man that went to my high school build their brand from the ground up, and also be working in the entertainment and digital production industry. And so he's going to be sharing what it takes to truly create on his segment next week for episode 160. You do not want to miss that. You definitely want to tune in and see how you can learn faster methods or even better methods to be able to create the masterpiece, to be able to create and also run your business idea and getting it out of your head and onto paper or even onto the ground so that you are moving in your calling and walking in your passion. And so definitely you won't want to miss next week's session with my very special guest, Brother Emmanuel Mills. E-Man is what I call him for short. And so stay tuned next week to hear what Jewelz Emmanuel has to drop for you all. I'm just a humbled servant again. King Jewelz here, Julian Smartrimple, just wanting to make sure that others can shine as we continue to create other opportunities and other avenues for them to share their jewels of wisdom and their expertise with you all. I've learned a ton from Precious's segment tonight. I'm excited even to be able to support her and her brand, and also in what she's doing, not just here in Atlanta, but even globally and abroad soon. I know she has big plans to even take her business global. And so shout out to all of those entrepreneurs that are in their 20s. We've had quite a few entrepreneurs in their 20s come on the segment and inspire you to let you know that it can be done, and that our Generation Z and even young millennials are not just out here playing, are not just out here partying, but they're getting to the money, they're getting to their destiny, and they're walking out their calling. And so you want to make sure that you take care of your immune system. This summer, we're launching wellness kits, smart wellness jewel kits that you can sign up for to even receive mystery kits going into the fall season. And so we're about to drop in the link where you can also sign up to receive your wellness kits. If you're here in Atlanta, we're literally going to be broadcasting them and also selling them at local festivals and events this summer. And so you won't want to miss some of the wellness kits and also the mystery kits that we're going to be shopping around to our clients, and also to those that are just trying to live well, that are just trying to have their health be a priority this year and also this season. You don't want to play with your health. Despite the economy and the world opening back up, you don't want to be that individual that gets caught slipping because you think that this vaccination is going to save you. It is not. I've heard of tons of people here in Georgia and also throughout the U.S. that still have caught COVID despite getting the vax. And so don't let the media hype fool you. Don't let your local politicians fool you. There are still people that are catching COVID despite getting the vaccination. And so whether it's in your workplace or whether it's in your family, you need to make a decision to live healthier and to not just be trusting what other people are telling you how you should live and also what you should get in order to become immune from a virus that we all talk about on the show that was definitely planned and definitely man-made. Whether you believe it or not, that thing is something that we should not even tolerate or play around with, because your health is your wealth. And also you have to decide how deep and how much are you going to prioritize your health, because the vaccine again will not save you. I repeat, the vaccine again will not save you. Sound health principles and sound alkaline principles and vegan principles and wellness will again build up your immune system for the long haul. And so do not get caught slipping this summer. Those are all of my final jewels for thought. Again, tune in every single Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Share this content with someone you know that can benefit from this information, this invaluable information that the Queen Precious dropped on you this evening. And definitely make sure you're shining like the bright diamond jewel that you've been created to be, because someone else needs to see and also needs to feel your presence and your light that is within you. And so never be afraid to shine. You cannot be fearful in this time. You have to be able to step up and walk into your calling, and to also walk and know your purpose while you are still here. Many people have passed on, but you're still here for a specific purpose. You're still here for a specific reason. And so do not take it for granted. Do not take this life for granted, and know where you will spend eternity, because life is short, but eternity is forever. Shout out to the Sandlot. But anyways, we'll see you all next week. Stay blessed, stay hydrated, stay safe out here in the streets, and make sure you are taking care of your mind, your body, and also your spirit and your soul. And we'll see you all next week. Until we meet again, peace.